Good afternoon and welcome to Agrifood Conversations, brought to you by iSelect Fund's Van Trump Report, the Yield Lab Institute, and Family Farms Group. My name is David Yoakum, an assistant on the iSelect Fund Ventures team, and I am excited to welcome you to today's call. On today's Agrifood Conversations call, we are joined by Chris Flynn-Rosansky of Plasma Nutrition. Plasma Nutrition's ioProtein is a high-quality bioavailability enhanced protein powered by the company's patent-pending technology. Designed to deliver optimal nutrition and maximum physical results with great taste, Plasma Nutrition calls it the next generation of protein. It is more bioavailable than whey protein isolate, neutral tasting, easy to use in foods, supplements, and beverages, and clinically backed by 6 human trials and over 5 years of research and development. Before we begin, each of you knows companies are more likely to succeed with the right network of customers, talent, investors, and advisors. We have invited you to this call because you're some of the smartest and most talented people in Plasma Nutrition's market. You're potential customers for Plasma Nutrition's products and services. You built and or sold a company like Plasma Nutrition, or you are a sophisticated business person who understands the Plasma Nutrition market and the challenges it may face. Before we get started, we have a quick poll question to get a better idea of who we have on the call today. Please take a few seconds to answer the poll question. A few process comments. We are not soliciting investment. This presentation is to provide information about Plasma Nutrition's products and services to help them find customers, mentors, and other strategic relationships that can help them grow their business. You're all on mute. You can use the chat window to ask a question. After the formal part of the presentation, we will answer as many questions as time allows. Finally, this presentation is being recorded and will be available for replay. So without further delay, I am pleased to introduce Chris Flynn-Rosansky, co-founder of Plasma Nutrition. Please take it away, Chris.
David, thanks so much for the introduction there, and thank you to everyone who's joining on the call or who is watching it on replay at some point after the fact. We really appreciate your time, and we hope that you're able to get something exciting and positive from this. We're excited to be participating in this Agrifood conversation, and we'll give as succinct an overview as we can of our technology, so that we can get to any questions that anyone out there has. I've always found that the dialogue and the questions are often the most exciting and most beneficial part of these types of conversations. But happy to introduce again, like David mentioned, I'm Chris Flynn-Rosansky. I am one of the 2 co-founders here at Plasma Nutrition, and we focus on we've developed technology to improve the bioavailability of food ingredients. I think for most of you that are here listening, we can all agree that the nutrition world is growing. In particular, our core focus of protein, we look at the global human nutrition protein market looking to be $21.5 billion by 2025. And even greater, the global animal feed protein market is expected to be up to $200 billion by 2024. And even though these are massive markets, the key question that we've asked ourselves is the world of nutrition actually improving? And there are 2 key problems that we see with the current state of the nutrition space. One is that our planet cannot sustain our current ingredient supply chain forever. If you look at, for instance, animal agriculture, it currently takes 6 pounds of animal feed to produce 1 pound of beef. And we know that that's just not a sustainable ratio. Our food has to become more efficient. The other core tenet for our company is that we believe food is medicine. Food is at the core of human health, but the market is dominated by the same commodities that we've had for decades. We actually started our company just over 3 years ago because both Steve and I had family members who were afflicted by sarcopenia, or old age muscle wastage. And we realized then just how inefficient much of the nutrition products on the market were. We were actually shocked by the rate of protein malabsorption, even for very high quality proteins like a whey protein, which is what we've started working with today. And we knew then that our food has to become smarter if we're going to service an ever-growing population. So when we thought about what does an ideal solution for our current nutrition space look like, what is an ideal solution for the current food industry? Well, one, we think it needs to be a technology platform, a platform that works across multiple ingredients. And that includes both traditional and plant-based proteins. We're very excited about the growth of plant-based nutrition, alternative meats, alternative dairy, but we know that dairy and traditional animal agriculture isn't going anywhere either. And so ideally, any change or any real innovation for this industry would be able to impact both. An ideal solution would be proven to increase ingredient efficacy. In doing so, reduce food waste. The reduction in food waste would also allow us to reduce the environmental impact of protein and other ingredients. We believe strongly that an ideal solution to this space, true innovation in the food space, must be clinically backed by human trials. We know that there's a lot of marketing hype out there, but a lot of what companies are bringing to market are the same commodities that have existed for years in new and fresh packaging. We think that an ideal solution has to be backed by new research. We also think it's important that new innovation be taste neutral, it be clean label, and it be organic. Consumers today are more educated than ever before, and they're more discerning in their food taste. And we recognize also that food ultimately must taste good. And so a new innovation has to at least maintain a positive taste profile. And finally, and from a business perspective, this is as critical as any, technology has to be designed to integrate seamlessly into any supply chain. We know that there can be some amazing innovation that takes place in a research setting, in a lab, or on a benchtop scale, but if it can't scale effectively into a commercial setting, into a manufacturing plant that's capable of running 24/7, 365, the future for that technology isn't very bright. Just as important, the solution doesn't just have to be, capable of working in any manufacturing facility. It also has to address the needs of various consumer groups. That includes sports nutrition, clinical nutrition, weight management, healthy aging, and animal feed and nutrition. And while a number of new ingredient solutions may identify one or two of these key areas, a true groundbreaking technology should be able to address and service customer demographics from all of these key markets. And we call that solution Ingredient Optimized, a proprietary and patent-pending ingredient innovation platform. If we look at our technology, we are and have developed a groundbreaking physical hardware process capable of transforming bioavailability for powdered ingredients. This is patent-pending hardware that's designed to integrate into any manufacturing facility. You can see an image to the right of our technology set up in line at a manufacturing plant. We have patents pending on the hardware, on the process, as well as on the underlying ingredient changes. We've made sure that from an IP perspective, we're able to button up at every level of our hardware in our company. What do we do, and what is our technology? We use non-thermal atmospheric plasma to enhance the ingredient structure. In the case of protein, we use this non-thermal atmospheric plasma to unfold the protein, altering the secondary and tertiary structures, which allows the body's own digestive enzymes to work more effectively. A simple kind of analogy would be to think of a bungled up string of Christmas lights or strand of Christmas lights. Our technology is able to unfold those and untangle those so that the body is more able to effectively get at and utilize the protein. Our hardware is capable of processing dairy, animal, plant proteins, BCAAs, as well as other non-protein ingredients in powdered form. The equipment itself is portable and flexible, only 3 cubic feet in size, and it has a throughput of 1 pound a second, which is faster than a very common manufacturing process, agglomeration. And we actually designed our hardware with a throughput in mind to be able to meet the manufacturing needs of many of the partners that we've spoken to. That throughput also scales up linearly. So that throughput of 1 pound per second is per machine. So if we were processing significant volumes of protein beyond the 1 pound a second capability, we could add additional machines, additional units, and scale that process up linearly. So our business model. So our goal is not to become the next name in consumer nutrition. We are a B2B company, and we see ourselves very much as a technology company, with the model of being the Intel inside the nutrition space. Our core business model involves installing our equipment in facilities, either with manufacturing partners or with the brands themselves, and then charging a processing fee per pound for all of the material that gets processed. That processing fee varies depending on the underlying material. We recognize that some materials operate in a higher volume, lower margin business, whereas others might operate with higher margins, and we're able to adapt our technology to the different market conditions for the underlying material. We recently developed and finalized a new dedicated processing facility partnership with a leading North American ingredient manufacturer. That allows us to now toll process, in this case, whey protein, and down the line ingredients, any other ingredient, really from any key supplier. We can process material from any supplier, which allows for maximum consumer flexibility. So in the case of whey protein, for instance, you could be using a Glanbia whey protein, a Milk Specialties whey protein, an Agripure whey protein. All of those can be positively impacted by our technology. That allows brands to maintain their current supply chain and maintain their current relationships so that they're really just seeing the benefits of our ingredient optimized technology. And as I mentioned before, our model is flexible enough to account for both high volume, low margin ingredients, as well as ingredients where the margins are typically higher, and we can adapt our technology to fit. Currently, we've applied our technology to whey protein, pea protein, and to BCAAs, all validated in human clinical trials. We started with whey protein because, as mentioned, we actually started this company to develop treatments for sarcopenia, or old age muscle loss. And when we started looking at that market in particular, we knew that we needed to start with what is to date the highest and most bioavailable material on the market, which would be whey protein. As we started looking into that market, we realized that the capabilities and the potential for this technology went far beyond just the market for protein deficient populations. So as we expanded our technology, we adapted it for both plant-based proteins as well as for non-protein applications with our ioBCAAs. Both our pea protein and our BCAA applications are anticipated to launch in Q1 of 2020. And we're finalizing commercialization of both of those as we speak. Now, there are really kind of two key parts for our new technology and any new technology that hits the market, both clinical and commercial validation. So we'll touch on the clinical validation piece first. To date, we've conducted 7 human clinical trials, all of which have been successful. On the screen right now, you can see the results of one of our clinical trials, comparing the bioavailability of a standard whey protein isolate compared to a whey protein isolate that's been processed with our technology. We call that ioProtein. And what you can see is that we were able to significantly improve bioavailability across the board for leucine, for BCAAs, and for the essential amino acids overall. And that manifested itself in 2 ways. One, there was a higher peak absorption. So if you look at the bottom level there, you'll see that for leucine, for BCAAs, for EAAs, there's both a higher peak absorption as well as a longer tail of absorption. What that means is that not only is your body more completely absorbing the protein, but it's also maintained, that protein is also maintaining itself in the system longer so that your body can utilize it more completely. And one of the key benefits there in some of our other clinical trials, in addition to bioavailability, we've looked at things like stomach discomfort, body composition, muscle mass, strength improvements, the types of measurements you'd expect to see improved if absorption and complete digestion was occurring. And we saw across the board that downstream results were also improved by ioProtein. So users of ioProtein saw reduced stomach discomfort, which means that some users who even previously couldn't take whey protein because of issues with bloating and gastrointestinal distress were actually able to consume this product comfortably. We also saw an increase in muscle mass and increase in strength measurements, all things that correlate very nicely to what we're seeing with our enhanced bioavailability results. Now, clinical validation, we know, is just one part. The science is important, but it's also important to see that this works at a commercial scale. So about 3 years ago, we joined FoodX, one of the world's leading food business accelerators based in New York. And coming out of that, we decided that it was most important for us to demonstrate commercial scale with a brand partner. So we entered into an exclusive relationship with Performix, one of the leading sports nutrition brands here in the US, to bring our ioProtein to market. With them, we successfully launched products nationwide in stores like the Vitamin Shop, Vitamin World, and GNC. And those products did so well that within a few months, Performix had actually added additional SKUs due to strong sales. This consumer validation allowed us to pursue and complete those 7 clinical trials, and also demonstrated that this technology is capable of running in a continuously running manufacturing facility. That this technology is truly capable of scaling to the needs of a supplier or a brand that's doing business throughout the United States and beyond. Matt Hesse, the CEO of Performix, talks about how important ioProtein was to him and calls it too good to be true. And we, love when our customers talk about our technology that way, especially when they've had a chance to see it work, when they've had this great customer response. When this technology is brought to market, Performix is really excited to move with this, to see the science that we had. And Matt Hesse has been a major advocate. Too good to be true is something that I know we're excited to hear early on. It does raise some questions, I'm sure, but we've seen the results in the clinical studies, and we've seen the results with customers. And at the same time, brands are excited, so are the retailers. So Vitamin Shop initially launched this as an exclusive, and they were really committed to new technology. They're committed to innovation, and they were a key part in our demonstrating that this technology resonates with consumers, that retailers, that brands can see true value, and that they can tell a compelling story to customers that they can really get behind. And when we look at the competitive landscape, we see that, our technology and our company is positioned a little bit differently than most companies in the, ingredient space. The most commonly in this industry, new innovation comes to market in the form of branded ingredients. So ingredients that can be added for particular applications. There are other companies that deal largely in commodity sales. So even when they're bringing new commodities to market or commodities in a new packaging, it's still much of the same. We see, our technology as being truly differentiated because it can be applied across different powdered ingredients. So proteins and non-protein applications are all possible for us. That's not to say that any powder that runs through it will be magically changed, but to date, we've seen that most plant proteins, most animal proteins, and a number of non-protein applications all are positively impacted by our technology. And over the coming years, we will continue to expand the use of our technology to these new applications. There are a number of competitive advantages that we see for our technology. One, we are the first to market with this type of technology. As I mentioned before, we have patents pending on several different components of the business. We are bringing scientifically backed differentiation to the marketplace. Most of the companies that are bringing new products to the space now are figuring out new methods of delivery or new ways to bring commodities into new form factors. This is a truly differentiated and clinically backed technology that improves food across the board. And the other benefit there is that it's a multi-ingredient platform. So this can be applied to animal proteins, dairy proteins, plant proteins, meaning that it can reach out to customers throughout a brand's portfolio, and it can have reach, beyond one or two particular customers. There's broad market appeal here because we can impact and work with customers in different market segments. Like I mentioned before, whether it's sports nutrition, whether it's age-related nutrition, whether it's animal feed, the benefits of enhanced bioavailability translate well to different consumer demographics. One key for our technology is that it's natural and clean label. So despite improving the bioavailability, we maintain the functionality of the underlying ingredient. So some of the other methods for improving protein bioavailability, such as hydrolysis, impart a very negative taste profile, which makes it very difficult for formulators to use. It requires a lot of work on the product development standpoint and from a formulation standpoint to make this actually palatable. Because we don't alter the taste of the protein or the underlying ingredient, we're able to deliver enhanced benefits in a form factor that consumers are actually excited to try. And that taste neutrality is something that we've seen work really well with Performance. They're able to deliver not just high-performing products from a bioavailability standpoint, but some of the best tasting products on the market. So how did we get here? Like I mentioned, we started working on this technology about 5 years ago and became a company about 3 years ago looking to develop a product for age-related muscle loss. But as we looked at the reach of this technology, we realized that the impact could be far beyond just age-related nutrition and protein-deficient populations, and that's when Plasma Nutrition was born. Today, our team is myself and my co-founder, Steve Matasco, who is on the call as well. We recently brought on a new VP of Business Development, Benoit Turpin. He was the VP of Sales at Milk Specialties Global, one of the leading dairy ingredient companies here in North America. And he spent over 30 years in ingredient sales and ingredient technology. And we have a key advisor, Roger Rohde, who's the former president of Triarco. They're the creators of Aminogen, which is a protein enhancement technology and a precursor to the things that we're able to achieve here. So why now? Why are we talking to you now? And why are we so excited about this point in our growth as a company? Well, having recently wrapped up our public beta, we really feel like we're positioned for growth and a chance to really take this to the next level from a technology standpoint. With Performix, we are expanding that partnership. So we recently launched new products with them in GNC. We're bringing that product to other leading retailers across the U.S. Later this year, and they recently are backed by a John Cena sponsorship for our products. We have our new dedicated processing facility and our new manufacturing partnership, which allows us to now process material from throughout the country and to deliver to customers both small and large, internationally and domestically. We are planning our first international launch for ioProtein. That'll be launching in Brazil in the next couple months, actually. So we're very excited about that. And one of the great benefits of our current manufacturing setup is we can ship just as easily to a domestic customer as we can to an international customer. And as mentioned before, we are finalizing the development of both our first plant protein application and our first non-protein application with our BCAAs. So that is Plasma Nutrition. We are nutrition without limits, and happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Well, Chris, we really appreciate you walking us through the exciting work you guys are doing. While the audience is thinking about it, and just to remind everybody, you can ask a question either, well, the best way to ask a question is to type it into the question box, and I will read it out on your behalf. But to get things kicked off here, one thing that would be interesting to think about from sort of a baseline perspective and sort of the core problem you're solving, when I think about something like a whey protein compared to the other proteins that are out there, definitely a more bioavailable protein than some of the plant-based substitutes that are becoming available. Can you give us a sense of sort of how bioavailable whey protein is currently in its unoptimized form, and then how much further you're able to take it, just sort of as a baseline as you guys move into other proteins and supplements?
Yeah, so from a protein standpoint, so whey protein tends to be, there are different ways to measure bioavailability, or I should say, digestibility for proteins. What we saw with ioProtein relative to a whey protein isolate is a greater than 2x improvement. So we saw just over a doubling of the bioavailability for leucine, which tends to be is widely regarded as kind of the gold standard amino acid, but also for just BCAAs and essential amino acids across the board. For plant proteins, we actually saw, and for BCAAs, we actually saw an even greater magnitude of change. But for whey protein, we did see a greater than 2x improvement in protein bioavailability.
Got it. So, but in terms of the baseline for whey protein, what percent, if I was to take, a standard scoop of whey protein, in some sort of like milkshake per se, for the average person, how much of that protein are they absorbing, and how much does it vary per person?
Yeah, so it can vary pretty considerably from person to person, as well as, male, female, kind of what your age range is. Obviously as you get older, protein sensitiveness tends to, decrease. You need more and more protein. So there isn't, kind of one universal answer, but, the rates can be, obviously pretty substantial, the malabsorption rates.
Got it. Okay. No, that's helpful. Another area that would be interesting to dive into, I think the bioavailability piece is really interesting. I think compelling, particularly to certain user groups. And obviously, you've identified one in the nutrition space, and in the sports nutrition space more specifically. But in the world of food, as you're all aware, cost reduction is an important consideration. In some of your early work with early customers, do you have a sense of, beyond sort of the benefits of bioavailability, whether there would be any cost reduction benefits for any of your customers?
Yeah, so that's one of the exciting things about our technology is that we're able to, by increasing the bioavailability, customers, can potentially use less of the underlying material. So, with the enhanced bioavailability, let's say look at Performix, they talk about how, 22 grams of their ioProtein is the same as 30 grams of a competing or standard whey protein isolate. Well, right there, that's a significant reduction in raw material. So brands can actually reduce their costs by using less raw material in production. And that carries a number of, positive impacts across the board. So not only are they able to reduce their costs and use less raw material, but then at that same time, you see less food waste, less waste across the transportation and supply chain and logistical pipeline. So it really, that reduction or potential reduction in raw materials carries a lot of weight, not just for brands at the end product cost, but also in their impact broadly when we talk about our food ecosystem.
Got it. And so with considering that, where you are pricing the product currently on sort of the 80 cents per pound, do you see, so charging a premium on that protein to the brand or the ingredient company that's supplying that, do you see the cost reduction being somewhat, like for them, is the 80 cents right now just simply a premium that they're bearing because they're providing a better product? Or is that premium a smaller portion of the overall cost savings they get while they're providing a premium product? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, so it really depends on how the brand wants to approach it. So if they're, there are brands who are looking to develop, right, like that operate in the high end, and that's one of the things that we kind of kept in mind when we were developing this technology is that, we're going to have customers in different tiers or different segments of the market. So for a customer that's operating in a particular high end, and maybe their customers are looking to absorb or work within, a premium product, they're typically able to, put that on top of, their existing costs. So they might deliver the same amount of product, but now there's an additional premium that they're able to capture as well, from their consumers. If you look at other brands who operate and where, cost constraints or cost concerns are weigh a bit more heavily in their production decisions, they're able to, potentially actually reduce the raw material in such a way that it can either offset the cost, depending on how much they reduce it. You can see an offset. You can even see some brands, lower their cost of their end product compared to what they're putting out on the market today by adopting this technology. The technology itself is also, if you were to compare it to, let's say, a hydrolyzed whey protein, which currently, also deals with, the taste issues, it's actually cheaper than a hydrolyzed whey protein. So for brands who are using, let's say, a hydrolyzed whey protein, that, right off the bat, they can see a cost reduction. And then for those who are using, your traditional concentrates or whey protein isolates, they can, see a reduction if they, reduce the raw materials, or if they operate more of that premium space, they're able to kind of capture, some of that in their business as well, while delivering a product that is truly differentiated and therefore helping them gain additional market share.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. And while obviously you guys have been tactful in the way you've sort of gone after this initial premium market, where there's brands who are willing to put out premium products because their clients are willing to pay for it. Are there other industries in that premium market that are reaching out to you currently, that are either inside of sports nutrition or in other applications where that's also the case for sort of this early adopter base? Yes, no, maybe so.
Sorry about that, David. I put myself on mute there so I didn't have background noise. We
no
have
problem.
we've seen some really encouraging and gotten some really encouraging response from companies, both for our whey protein, within the whey protein space. Obviously, sports nutrition is a strong market for us, but clinical nutrition, which is where we kind of got our initial start, or was our initial focus, is an area that also, certainly can benefit from, premium ingredients and just really kind of market leading technology. So we've seen really strong response there. For whey protein, we've certainly seen response in addition for some of our other applications like plant proteins. Plant proteins typically do struggle from a bioavailability standpoint, a functionality standpoint. So that's an area that we've actually gotten a lot of inbound discussion on, because our technology can be applied to really any, protein source. So even though, we've worked on pea protein, we are, working with some other folks to potentially develop some new applications as well. And then we've had some early discussions and some excitement on the animal nutrition and animal feed side. As a startup, we've had to maintain focus early on, within the realm of human nutrition, so that we don't spread ourselves too thin. But that's certainly an area as well that, we've gotten some really positive feedback on the technology, and we're looking to advance those discussions, pretty quickly.
Well, Chris, before we conclude here today, one thing we always like to ask our presenters and the founders who come on to Agrifood Conversations is, what are some of the ways the audience can help you out today? How can they reach you? What do you guys need the most help or assistance with?
Yeah, so as far as reaching out, you can see my contacts there. Chris, it's just chris@plasmanutrition.com. Also, if you're on this webinar, you may know some of the folks at iSelect. So if you are in contact with them, David, hopefully, if you do get any questions or thoughts from anyone who's watching, do feel free to pass those along. But our website is becomeio.com. So we can certainly address any questions that you have, as if you don't get a chance to reach out to me directly. As far as what we're working on right now, so we are currently bringing our technology and this application to new brand partners. Like I mentioned, we are launching in Brazil later this year. We're also looking to launch, or planning to launch in a couple new countries in Q1 of next year. So if there are any folks who are interested in learning more about the technology and integrating into their product portfolio, or working with us to develop some new applications, we're certainly open for those discussions. I know we are actively fundraising as well. So if anyone would like to or reach out, involving that discussion, we're happy to have that discussion as well. I'd say those are kind of the two key areas for us as far as discussions go.
Got it. Well, Chris and team, we really appreciate you joining the call today. For anybody who's participating on this webinar, if you'd like to learn more about plasma nutrition, please let us know by answering this final poll question. For anybody who is new today, we host these, or listening on replay for that matter, we host these calls every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. You can register for Agrifood Conversations webinar series by going to agrifoodconversations.com. Replay of this webinar will be emailed to you in the next 24 hours. And if you know others that would like to see this webinar in replay, they'll be able to access it on agrifoodconversations.com within 24 hours. Thanks everyone for joining today, and we look forward to seeing you next week.